Perfect. Thank you very much. My name is Tracy Pepe. And for those of you who are new to my work, you can join us on the YouTube channel. There's lots of videos as well as there's lots of live things that we do on a regular basis. My focus is scent science, and I am a perfumer, and I work within the long-term care industry here in Canada. And I have a really unique company that we do supportive work to bring in olfactive science into the healthcare of person-based. And it's quite fascinating, some of the data that we're collecting. We had just started, so it's not, we have some people coming into the class, which is fantastic. Again, my name is Tracy Pepe, and we are going to start the presentation. I will record this so that you can have a copy of it and share with your colleagues. I am going to share the screen. This is a presentation that is approximately 30 minutes. And I'm hoping that if you have any questions, I can't always see, so we may have to do the questions at the end. But the whole goal is to simplify the techniques and the work that we've been doing and some of the great success that we are seeing in various different homes across Canada. And so we're trying to share some best practices. I'm trying to provide information in newsletters as well as on lots of YouTube videos to give insight to why this is something that is really simple. It adds so much value to the care of the individual. If you think of music therapy, art therapy, pet therapy, scent therapy, they're all tools in your toolbox to customize how you are going to support your residents in your home and how you're going to increase the quality of life that they have, or the engagement process that they are in or not. And so sometimes this is a very challenging process for individuals. And I understand that actually from a very personal level. My sister is in long-term care, and I'm very much aware of what is both sides, the family's interpretation of this, as well as the residents, as well as the caregivers. So I'm hoping that I can give you some really great tools that you will consider and implementing them in a very simple, safe, and effective way. So person-centered care is really about smell. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. I have gone to many presentations that have talked about person-centered care, the limbic systems, the connection to emotion, and they're missing the link of olfaction, which is surprising, but it's not surprising in so many ways, because the sense of smell is a direct link to the limbic system, which, as we know, is emotional connection. And so if you're trying to create a more meaningful connection with individuals, scent has that ability to do that, and it occurs in less than a second. And so these are things, simple tools that are always forgotten. Often when recreation therapists are creating programming, they think about the tactile component, or they think about the cognitive conditioning, or maybe even the audio, but very rarely are they asking, well, what can we do to include scent? How do we increase the sense of smell? So it really starts with a sniff. And the residents that we work with, you can do this on a one-on-one basis, as well as you can do this in group therapy. We provide an extensive program that really supports so many modalities in the long-term care homes. And I'm excited that some of the homes have taken it to various different levels, and it's really lovely to see how they're incorporating them within their day-to-day experiences. So the question that is really awkward is, can you smell something? And of course I can smell. Of course. Why wouldn't I? Is a common response. But it is a very odd question in senior care. And it's really important because a lot of people, close to 78.4% of the public, can't smell. They have a very low to dampened sense of smell. And during an intake session, and I experienced this, and I guess this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of on a crusade right now, is when I entered my sister into long-term care, we went through the intake process, filled out all the forms, went through all the conversations. We talked about, does she have hearing aids? Does she have dentures? Does she wear glasses? Does she have, contacts? What are her favorite games, her activity? But no one asked her if she could smell anything, which is really interesting to have a sister as a perfumer, and her entire life I have been asking her to smell stuff. And we actually connected I did at a very young age. I was 3 with my sister. She's schizophrenic bipolar. And one of the things that her sensory that she really loves is smell and taste. And she really calms down in environments where that is available. And it's interesting because I communicate through smell and taste. I find, again, if I want to calm down, I cook. And I have noticed over the years that this connection is often missed and it's often misunderstood. But the other part to this question is you often have, as I said, individuals who can't smell. And right off the bat, if they're entering your home and they can't smell, that is impacting how they eat, which is one of the number one complaints is about the food. And again, can these residents taste the food? A lot of them will tell you they can. Taste is often sometimes on memory. Sometimes it is based on, I want a cup of coffee. I think I know what coffee tastes like. I remember it, more of a hot beverage, but missing the refined notes that coffee often can give. And so the other thing is the loss of smell is an early indication to dementia, Parkinson's, many, many diseases. And there was a recent study done that the average individual is professionally diagnosed medically of Parkinson's 8 years prior to losing their sense of smell. And I often think if the family had 8 years and the individual had 8 years, how would they plan for their future differently? And I have seen this with, I think the other, with the research was also looking at Alzheimer's, and that was 4 years out. So 4 years of loss of smell prior to the onset later stages of Alzheimer's showing is a really interesting connection, because if we're not using our sense of smell, or we are, but we're not aware of it, this is where this simple process of smelling an intake is something that you can work with. It also tells the family that your home is different and that you are providing a tool, that you're thinking of everything and your loved one is cared. And for many of you who have taken the scent therapy program, this is just a resell of what you do. This is just a service that you provide, as you would talk about physio or music therapy or art therapy. This is just another tool in the toolbox. Part of the connection of why I broke down the smells and created the intake is to simplify everyone's life, because in taste there are 5 specific taste buds located on the tongue. However, in smell, there can be up to 1 million. It's endless. It's unthinkable, actually, the connections with smell. And what is primal is four specific areas of the brain that they know that if you can't smell these, it's an indication that there's a certain area you may have been impacted. It could have been as simple as a cold, COVID. It could have been an accident. There's a variety of different things. Zinc medication can sometimes dull your sense of smell. A variety of different things can have an impact on your olfaction. And so in the intake kit, the kit is broken down into four specific areas that trigger four specific areas of the brain. And one is what we call wood, or it is like a vetiver blend. It is a connection that is more earthy in notes. It's not very pleasant. Some people like it. The majority of people don't. But that's also an indication whether you can smell it or not. Because when you're smelling, often people go, yeah, I can smell that. But when they smell something that's a little harsh, they will give you the facial recognitions right off the spot if they can smell it. The floral scent is a bouquet blend. It's nothing specific, but very familiar. And it is something that most people will pay attention to. They know it, but necessarily can identify it. The citrus is a connection of limonene, which is a big part of, I guess, the scent therapy program. It's one of the areas we focus on, making sure the oils that we use have high levels of the limonene. But citruses are defined, they're very specific. And the last area of the brain is the green section. So we happen to use a blend that is a rosemary eucalyptus stimulus because there's a high level of camphor and it is the strongest of the four. And so for someone who has potential Parkinson's, for example, if they can smell something, that is a really good indication with the smells. My company in particular does not work with alcohols. We don't work with sulfates. We don't work with, we don't dilute. So we use a lot of natural based smells. We create blends, or I create the blends in order to ensure that they're palatable, but also reasonable in price. Some of the raw materials are extremely expensive and they're very difficult to store and sometimes very difficult to use. So I make it as practical as possible. The kit, it's our solution, and this helps to test the four categories. When someone is in your office going through the intake process, you open the kit, you open up the jar, and the jars are, very similar. There is pads inside to avoid leakage, and the pads absorb the scent. And as long as you keep the lid on it, it will contain it for a year to 2 years. The smells are protected in a box so that they are not, they don't weaken in any way. This helps to determine the level of olfaction. Each scent is graded on a scale of 1 to 5. A total scale of 20 is perfect, or above 17 is very good. The majority of people we come across are in the top 5, like have 5. They can smell 5 scent, like they get a number of maybe one of each. They do not have a very good sense of smell. And it doesn't surprise me. It surprises a lot of individuals who work in the industry, but I have just seen this continually happen. The other thing that I'm noticing too, this is something that you can improve too. So it's not a negative thing. I know with my sister, she's always feeling that it's always something. It's another test. She's not doing well. This is impacting her. She's not sleeping well. There's a variety of different things. And this is something that you can progressively work towards and you can improve. So it's not like something is damaged and it never responds or returns or repairs itself, as I should say. The Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, I'm so sorry, spam, I can tell. I'm sorry. I thought I muted it. Parkinson's Alzheimer's and dementia, the individual will have the ability to smell. They just don't necessarily have the same bandwidth or character smelling that we would, because the disease does damage the olfactive aspects of their perception of scent. So the brain is working. It is releasing different hormones and connections and stimulation. It's just what they're smelling is very, very different. And so it's always interesting to have someone smell to give you some really interesting things that they smell. These eucalyptus smells like cat urine to them, but it really is not. It's just a very interesting process. And it's very fascinating too to have the family members involved, because incorporating the scent therapy, if you do this in your home, this is something the family members can do. You can set it up and they can have an engagement, and it's new memories. It's an opportunity for them to participate. It's safe, it's effective. And many family members comment to us on a regular basis because we're using an alternative natural approach, and they like the idea. It's something different for them. I'm going to give you this is Sandy Crowley. She is one of our clients, and she talks about the data. So I want you to hear this.
All right, Sandy, so great to have you a part of this conversation. Understanding our scent therapy program, we collect data on the scents. What do you hope the data can do for you?
Well, for us, it helps us because it shows that the scent therapy does work. And an example of that is we were utilizing lavender to help with quality of sleep and length of sleep for our residents. But we found out that lemon actually is better for people who have dementia for that quality of sleep. So the data really helped us shift and pivot to the right place.
I was really thankful for Sandy sitting down with me to share some of her intake. She obviously is overseeing multiple homes, and so she's seeing this from a different perspective. But the homes that participate, we collect the data, not on the patient, but on the actual scents. And then from the scents, I calculate the scent and look at the patterns, because I'm very much interested in the evaluation, and that is where olfactive science comes into effect. We then cross-reference it with various forms of research that is being done consistently, and then we can start to see the chemical components and what we need to look for. And then from my experience as a perfumer, I can then pull in certain smells that actually meet that criteria. A lot of people, unfortunately, who use scent therapy, they choose smells that they like. It becomes their favorite. And unfortunately, that is not the way this process really works. There are certain smells that do certain things, and there's certain scents that have an impact on the brain. From the results that Sandy was specifically speaking about is limonene. Limonene is a raw material that is a chemical, aromatic chemical found in citrus scents in particular. Various different fruits have various different levels of limonene. And limonene is really important because the response in dementia and Alzheimer's patients is quite interesting. And this is some clinical research that they've been focusing on. It's showing a more positive increase in the melatonin, which is helping to sleep better moods and sleep patterns. So for individuals who are specifically very agitated, angry, frustrated, the melatonin helps by creating more of a feel-good comfort. 15 minutes of scent therapy twice a day, 7 to 10 times, can increase the sense of smell in an individual who has no sense of smell. Even if they can't smell, the raw materials used with the limonene will impact the individual's effect. And when we track it, we can actually see from the response from the PSW or from the nurse practitioner or the rec therapist that there is actually a change in behavior. I have one home, which is a funny story. She had so much problems getting people to do chair yoga. And so I helped her with the idea that if you take mandarin, red mandarin or tangerine, and you use those scents prior as a training tool, and Sandy's teams were doing this from the beginning when we were implementing it in some of the early stages. Anyway, she went ahead and she hands out these sticks, or she gives it to the PSW, and the PSW goes out and gives it to everybody to round everybody up that it's yoga time. We're using this. She brings them into the room and she has a diffuser that is pre-going with the mandarin and the tangerine. So she set it up where the atmosphere is fun, it's fresh, it smells lovely. Then when the recreation therapist starts to do some movements with the yoga, and this particular group have more mobility, then she passes around another scent stick with a tangerine or complementing smell. And when they leave, they have the scent. It is funny because she has claimed that she has such a high intake, she had to add another class. And she was saying that she really loves these kinds of problems. Now, that was obviously for a particular type of ward and a particular type of residence, but it is known as a happy scent for a reason. And so the person-centered care model is really about triggering the limbic system in less than a second. It's about the emotional memory activation. It's about creating positive experiences. It's about cognitive engagements, trigger alertness, helping the patients participate in activities. And there's a neurochemical effect. It can boost dopamine, serotonin, melatonin. It can help mood, stress, sleep. There's a lot of benefits that the scent can have to give that immediate effect. But there's one thing that I don't think a lot of people take serious enough. Sometimes in the middle of I want to say an energy crisis or a frustration or anger, or there's something that's happening, just smelling causes the brain to shift. The act of smelling causes the brain to shift. So it's a fantastic tool used in children with tantrums, and I've seen it used in Montessori schools for a long time for this reason. Sometimes they get really out of control, and so sometimes that simple smell is enough to cause the brain to say, hey, what was I doing? Because sometimes with the neurodiversion, they get stuck and they get focused and it becomes almost repetitive until something can slowly break that. Sometimes it's a touch on the shoulder. Sometimes there's different areas, individuals respond differently. But I know scent is a fantastic tool and is often overlooked. Having the kits available in certain rooms or available knowing that certain patients have agitation is really critical. A lot of these kits are just locked up and people forget about them in the rec centers instead of it being incorporated as part, or it being at the nurse's station as part of a tool that can be utilized. This is the limonene content, so people have a much better understanding. Sweet orange has one of the higher levels, grapefruit and tangerine. They're typically anywhere between 88 and 95. So mandarin and lemon and lime, they are more, we use a pure, so they're at the higher levels of 76%. We use a pure essential oil. Our citruses come in from Europe. Bergamot has the lowest amount, but still a 45% increase of limonene still has an impact. And it's interesting because one of the best essential oils or smells used for anxiety is bergamot oil. So there's a lot of actual clinical information that relates to that. I created a scent called Pomelo, which is a combination of the highest levels of limonene content. It's fresh, it's citrus, but the idea was to enhance mood, stimulate alertness, and to have something like kind of pre-made. So that is one of the scents that we were working on this spring. And I did a small video sleeping. The reason I like to kind of end my presentation on something like this is because for 30 years, I worked in the hospitality industry. And part of our work, my work, was to create custom scents for the hotels. So you felt at home and you felt rested and you felt like you could get a better sleep. And so it is a huge part of the work that I've done. And it is something that I know to be true because I've seen a lot of the clinical data, but also the white papers from the corporations who know that you create a signature scent for a reason, specifically in the hospitality industry. And so for me, I'm trying to get people aware that just doing scent therapy with an individual 15 minutes prior to bed will help them sleep longer. Do not use the scent in any of the scent up the machines. It will damage the equipment because they are pure essential oils. And you don't necessarily need a diffuser. If you do, that is great, but the diffuser shouldn't be on all night either. It's only for a period of time and it should shut off. And the idea is to create the opportunity for the person to sleep longer. Or if they wake up and you're a night nurse or you're an individual and you want to help them get back to bed, it's a tool. Bring out the diffuser, turn on the scent, and it will help them fall back to sleep. So these are some interesting tools. These are some different ideas. These are some approaches we take. And I'm hoping that on the journey with us on olfactive scent, and that you are looking at the research and the data and you're using it to apply towards your programming that works best for you. My name is Tracy, and if anybody on the call has a question, I am more than willing to answer your questions. Hold on, there we go. Perfect. Do you or anybody have a question? If you don't, let me just get the chat, which is great. It's 3:30, so I was trying to do a half-hour presentation because I respect everyone is busy. If you have any questions or you have a particular patient or an individual that you would like some suggestions or ideas, email me. What are the best scents to increase appetite? Oh, that's a great question. So it's not necessarily the best types of scents. It is the timing of when the scents are done. It's usually 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes prior to when they're going to eat, because it is stimulating the appetite stimulation. Now, in the kits, there's what we call the gourmand scents, vanilla, cake, the lemons, the citruses, those smells associated to food. Chocolate, I think, waffle, those are really good scents to work with. I wouldn't overwhelm them. I would choose a maximum of 3 scents, and I would do it specifically prior to the meal because it's the timing component that is very important. Good question, by the way. I want to thank you for your time. I love it that people jump on or share this video. We will send it out to everybody who is pre-registered. And please, it will be on our website or on our YouTube channel. I want to thank you very much, and we hope to see you again. Take care, everyone.